The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor.
De Niro turns around and he's like, Schneider, how could you support that schmuck? Trump is a schmuck. I looked right at him and I said, I love you.
Let's be honest, Hollywood loves its drama, but every once in a while, a moment pops up that feels less like celebrity theatrics and more like a mirror held up to the country. And that's exactly what happened when Rob Schneider, of all people, decided he'd had enough of the non-stop political venom and fired back. Not with rage, not with insults, but with something Hollywood seems to have forgotten even exists: perspective. Before we go any further, hit that like button and subscribe if you're tired of the endless political scream fest and want commentary that actually cuts through the noise. Now buckle in, because this situation gets wild fast. Schneider told a story that starts off almost funny but ends up saying more about America than most cable news segments do in a month. Picture this: you're at the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. The room's packed with every kind of celebrity, actors, comedians, icons pretending they don't see each other. You know how it goes. Then Robert De Niro, Hollywood royalty himself, turns around and confronts Rob Schneider like he's scolding a middle schooler. Schneider, he says, how could you support that schmuck? Meaning Trump. No hello, no small talk, straight to the jugular. And Schneider's response? I love you. That's it. No defense, no shouting match, no dramatic monologue, just a blunt, disarming I love you. And apparently De Niro, king of the tough guy scowl, just froze for a second, then muttered, okay, almost like his system glitched. It's the first time you realize maybe the guy wasn't ready for someone to answer hate with warmth.
I know that, working in Hollywood, you live and you work amongst all of these individuals that do not like Trump. They're Democrats. We knew that through the election. They voiced their opinions. Robert De Niro was one of those. And I know you were at the 50th anniversary of SNL. Y'all were in the audience, and they asked anyone who had been on the show or hosted the show to come up on stage. And Robert De Niro was standing in front of you. Someone pushed you into him, probably on purpose, so you'd have that interaction. And you were confronted with him. This is how you described that moment.
De Niro turns around and he's like, Schneider, how could you support that schmuck? Trump is a schmuck. I looked right at him and I said, I love you. I love you. I swear to God, he looked right at me and went like, okay.
But that moment, as small as it might seem, is the heart of this entire situation, because while De Niro's anger came out like a fire hose, unfiltered, furious, personal, Schneider's approach was the total opposite: calm, steady, grounded. It wasn't some fake Hollywood kumbaya act. He actually meant it, and that's why the reaction hit so hard. See, Schneider didn't go up there to defend Trump as if the man can do no wrong. Nobody sane thinks any president is flawless, but he refused to play the Hollywood game where disagreeing with someone automatically means you hate them, want them canceled, and think everyone around them is some kind of villain. Instead, he made the simple but apparently controversial point that politics doesn't override humanity. You can disagree, fiercely even, without turning the other person into a monster.
You got to understand that, there are people who are, if you want to use the word triggered or whatever, but we have to meet them in some other way than just with the same kind of anger or whatever. And I do, and I'm telling you, I respect him as an actor and as a person, and I know that he's helped the autistic community, the kids, parents who have autistic kids, and on a movie years ago. And I do, and it's interesting, because when you come from a place of love, and brotherhood, then you really can't, it doesn't advance to that next ugly place.
Compare that with De Niro's side. His rhetoric, pure acid. Trump's a monster, a nightmare, a hateful person with no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and anyone who votes for him, apparently clueless, angry, or morally defective. There's no nuance, no curiosity, no acknowledgement that people might have reasons, legitimate ones, for their choices. It's the kind of attitude that's become way too common. If you don't think like me, you must be broken.
The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I'd never play him as an actor.
And that's exactly the kind of thinking Schneider is calling out. When Schneider spoke at his event, he didn't rant, he didn't roar, he didn't play the victim. He talked about something bigger, freedom, not as a buzzword, not as a cliche, but as a real, fragile thing that can disappear if people get lazy about protecting it. He reminded his audience that freedom isn't guaranteed, and history proves nations fall when their citizens get comfortable handing power over to someone else. Even a single lost freedom can trigger a domino effect. That was the message that sparked all the drama, which honestly tells you everything you need to know about the state of discourse today. How does a simple call for vigilance and personal responsibility turn into a feud? How does saying, hey, maybe we should be awake and actually care about preserving liberty get twisted into some kind of attack? Easy, because people don't listen anymore. They react, they distort, and if someone's name is even remotely associated with Trump, the Hollywood outrage machine fires up instantly.
Will America be a temporary experiment in freedom in human history, where freedom for the individual was enjoyed by only a relatively few people for a brief 249 years before society returned to another form of feudalism and slavery? I hope not. But it is not guaranteed. When they say eternal vigilance, that means we must be awake, we must be aware, and we must fight for it.
But here's where Schneider did something rare. He chose to respond without adding more fuel to the fire. He said flat out that you can't out-cancel the cancel mob. You try to fight rage with more rage. You're just feeding the beast. Instead, he talked about confronting anger with love. Not because it's some fluffy hallmark philosophy, but because practically it works. And honestly, it rattles people. No one knows what to do when you refuse to play their game. Even when Schneider talked about De Niro, he didn't insult him back. He praised him, celebrated his talent, acknowledged his contributions, and the decades of cinematic power he's delivered. How many people today can argue politics and still recognize the humanity of the person on the other side? It's almost unheard of.
We're never going to be able to out-cancel the cancel culture. They're better at it than us. It's got to be through love.
That is so beautiful. Instead of arguing with them, which is what they want, you just said, I love you.
Well, I do. I love them. And look, it's got to come through love. And it's true. And if, the Bible says you don't get a reward for loving your brother. You get a reward for loving people who are your enemy, or people who, and he's not my enemy. I love him, and he's angry. And the way to really do this and to confront this is through love.
Schneider didn't just walk the talk. He practically put on a clinic on how to disagree without tearing someone's character to shreds. And that's something America desperately needs to relearn. Schneider didn't stop there. He talked about going to Berkeley, yes, Berkeley, the birthplace of free speech protests, to speak with students about open dialogue. Ironically, it's now a place where free speech is so fragile that even sold-out events can't fill the room because protesters block the doors. Think about that. A school famous for fighting censorship now uses it as a tool when they don't like who's talking. Yet the students who did make it inside, brave as hell. They didn't go to cheer on one specific ideology. They went because they believe, fundamentally, that speech shouldn't be restricted just because someone doesn't like what's being said.
And so what we really have to do is continue discourse. And that's what Frank Turek was there to do. My good friends, professors, Dr. Andrew Doyle, and Professor Peter Boghossian. We were there to discuss things with kids, and we said what Charlie Kirk said. And the only reason I was there at Berkeley was because with Charlie Kirk, and I said to him, let's go to the place that's the most challenging. And he said, well, we're going to go to Berkeley then. And it was challenging, but I wish it was challenging in a way that was really what this country is set to do, which is free speech. And Berkeley is the home of free speech. Yeah. And yet all of a sudden, that was the place where free speech on campus was really enshrined at the university.
Schneider praised them because they understood the assignment. You protect speech by practicing it, not silencing it. You challenge ideas by engaging them, not hiding from them. And ironically, it's Schneider, the comedian, the actor known for goofy characters and lighthearted films, who ends up delivering one of the clearest, most groundbreaking grounded messages in the whole political circus. Freedom dies when fear wins, and fear thrives when people stop talking to each other.
The idea that somebody now can silence another group of people and prevent people from getting in. We could have sold that place out 3 times, and it was completely sold out, but yet they were not allowed. And the university could have done a better job of allowing people, helping them to usher the kids in to come see us. But those brave kids, I want to thank all the Turning Point USA kids at Berkeley for being courageous and coming in spite of the negativity and the violence out.
Meanwhile, De Niro's take on all this? Trump is a nightmare. Biden returns the country to normal, and anyone voting for Trump must be confused or misguided. It's a simplistic worldview that leaves no room for complexity, no room for nuance, no room for the fact that tens of millions of Americans don't vote out of anger, but out of real concerns about the economy, borders, crime, inflation, or policy. You don't have to agree with them, but pretending they don't exist, or worse, that they're broken, isn't going to heal anything.
The bottom line is, it's Biden versus Trump. We want to live in a world that we want to live in and enjoy living in, or live in a nightmare. Vote for Trump, and you'll get the nightmare. Vote for Biden, and we'll be back to normalcy.
Yeah. So why is Trump winning? I mean, the New York Times poll this week came out, and maybe this will change it with the State of the Union address, but Trump was beating him rather soundly. It was quite a warning light, 48 to 43, also winning way more among women than he had before, winning outright Latinos. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I just don't want to feel the way I did, and many of us don't, after the election in 2016.
And that's why Schneider stands out so sharply against the Hollywood backdrop. He's not preaching unity for the cameras. He's not fake crying about democracy while demonizing everyone who disagrees. He's talking like an actual adult who understands disagreement doesn't make someone evil. This whole situation is a microcosm of what's wrong with today's culture. We've turned political disagreement into a moral judgment. We've turned debates into purity tests. We've turned opponents into enemies. And we've convinced ourselves that shouting louder makes us more correct, when really all it does is make us more divided. But Schneider's approach offers a way out, not by surrendering, not by staying quiet, not by pretending differences don't exist, but by refusing to let those differences turn into hatred. That's the part people forget. You can push back on bad ideas without calling someone a worthless human being. You can criticize without dehumanizing. You can fight for your beliefs without torching the entire room. Schneider gets that. De Niro, not so much. And it's not that De Niro's feelings aren't valid, it's that his method, rage, insults, dismissiveness, does nothing but widen the hole we're all trying not to fall into. You can't shame people into agreeing with you. You can't bully the country into unity. And you definitely can't win hearts by acting like half the population is beneath you.
Where we couldn't believe that it happened. The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I'd never play him as an actor, because I can't see any good in him. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him. And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and they look like intelligent people around there, for some reason, it can't be.
Schneider's message is simple. Debate hard, but don't lose your humanity. Fight for speech, but don't mirror the intolerance of those who want it censored love people, even when you don't love their politics. And keep talking, even when the world is screaming. Because freedom doesn't survive when people stop arguing. It dies when they stop listening. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If this breakdown hit the mark for you, smash that like button, subscribe for more commentary, and jump into the comments. What do you think about Schneider's approach? Did he handle it right, or should he have gone harder? Let's hear it.